Hello Dota 2 fans, in this episode we will talk about Timbersaw. Rizrak could still hear the screams in his mind. He worked, frantically turning wrenches, twisting screws, building and carving and forging. Sleep eluded him, he only built. Months had passed since he had shut himself in his uncle's workshop, and his deliverance was nearly complete. He rubbed his back and his eyes drifted shut, and saw a blanket of flowers floating on the placid waves of Augury Bay before exploding into a cloud of pollen that silenced lives as it seized the lungs. He woke with a choking start. For hours the rhythmic sound of whetstone filled the shop as he sharpened a set of massive blades, his mind filled with images of strangling vines, garroting neighbors, and wrapping homes. The flooding of Augury Bay had been nothing compared to the violent horrors the waters left to take root beyond the city walls. But the saw suit would make him strong and safe, he thought, allowing himself the silver of hope before the full might of his fear crashed into his fading mind. Branches and blood. When the city fell, Rizrak fled trees that walked and fought and killed. Trees had shattered the gates and swarmed into the city. Trees had crushed and thrashed and stomped the last that Augury Bay could muster in defense, and stalked the few fleeing refugees. In addled silence, Rizrak unspooled the thick chain from the suit's arm. His hands quaking as he expected each link, and ran a trembling finger along the claw attached at its end. The saw suit was ready. With his hand trembling, he sparked the bladed machine to life. Terror drove him, terror of what awaited him, and what he would have to face to have any hope of calming his mind. As the saw suit shuddered to life, he knew he must face this fear, and he knew he wouldn't like it one bit. Currently, Timbersaw is one of the most popular heroes. He can be often seen in the professional scene and also in the pub games. At level 1 he has 25 strength, 16 agility, 21 intelligence, 290 move speed, not the best, 53 damage and 0 armor, but this pays off with his abilities, especially with his passive skill which gives him bonus armor and HP regen. His first skill is called Whirling Death. If an enemy hero is affected, it will lose 15% of its primary attribute for 7 seconds. Whirling Death will deal pure damage if a tree is cut down in the process. With his second ability, Timbersaw fires a chain that embeds itself in the first tree it hits, pulling him towards it. Any enemy hero in the path will take pure damage. His third skill is a passive ability, and it's called Reactive Armor. Each time Timbersaw is attacked, he gains increased HP regen and armor. Each stack lasts for 16 seconds. His ultimate ability is called Chakram. Timbersaw fires his main saw blade at the target location, and once there, the blade will spin, dealing damage in an area around it and slowing enemies. For each 5% of HP missing, enemies caught in the saw blade move more slowly. The blade deals damage and cuts down trees in its path when it's fired and retract. You lose the ability to attack and your mana gets drained while the blade is out. Most often, Timbersaw is seen as a solo mid hero or a solo hard lane. We rarely see him in other roles. Let's take a look at the Timbersaw who will be laning mid. He will be played by Dendi. It's a game Navi vs Team Liquid in the We Play Dota 2 League. His skill build is as follows: Whirling Death, Reactive Armor, Whirling Death, Timber Chain, Whirling Death, Chakram, Whirling Death, Timber Chain from level 8 to level 10, Chakram at level 11, Reactive Armor from level 12 to level 14, then again Chakram at level 16, and the rest is attribute bonuses as usual. So why Whirling Death first? He bought 3 iron wood branches and a tango as his starting items, so his goal was to get the bottle as quick as possible, and he managed to do it thanks to damage from his first skill, which costs only 70 mana at level 1 and can be spammed to last hit creeps. It works especially well versus Razor, who drains your damage. It's hard to lane against this hero, so it's a good way to get some CS. Dendi played this game quite aggressively. If he finds a good rune, he's always looking for the opportunity to gank an enemy hero. Dendi bought boots into Arcanes, Magic Wand, Point Booster, Void Stone into the Perseverance, into Bloodstone, and then Vanguard. At this point the game was pretty much won, so he didn't have time to buy any more items. Very often we see Bloodstone as the first major item on the Timbersaw. Some of the new players might ask, why this item? The answer is quite simple. Timbersaw has a low mana pool. His abilities don't cost a lot of mana, but they have a very short cooldown, so when you spam them, your mana ends quickly. Thanks to Bloodstone, you can use your skills pretty much non-stop. Timbersaw becomes very mobile. Also, Bloodstone gives a lot of HP, which is very important as well. Also, Bloodstone gives you an ability to respawn quicker, and you will revive instantly if you have a lot of charges. This can be very useful to rejoin the team fight. Overall, Timbersaw is a very aggressive hero, and Dendi played this hero in the same fashion. He didn't end up buying Scythe of Vice or Shiva's Guard because the game was finished early. Bloodstone and Vanguard were enough. Let's take a look at another replay. This time Timbersaw will be played by Funn1k, and once again this is Team Liquid versus Navi. His skill build is as follows: Reactive Armor, Timber Chain, Reactive Armor, Whirling Death, Timber Chain, Chakram, Timber Chain, Whirling Death from level 9 to level 10, then Chakram, then Whirling Death, then Reactive Armor from level 13 to level 14, attribute bonuses, Chakram, and the rest is attribute bonuses. He starts the game with 2 Iron Wood Branches, a Tango, Healing Salve, and the Stout Shield, and he goes for the bottle as his first item. At first levels, the Lone Druid can't really do much to Timbersaw. By the way, this is the hero who Funn1k was laning against. Because Timbersaw had 2 points in reactive armor, the bear simply doesn't do any harm to him, and Funn1k can easily get his golden experience and then roam around the map ganking with his teammates. 2 points in reactive armor and a maxed out Timber Chain tells us that Funn1k can play safely, and in case of initiation from an opponent, he can Timber Chain away. And also, he can initiate a fight himself, easily chase an enemy hero, and absorb a lot of damage. Funn1k buys Arcane Boots next, then Point Booster into a Bloodstone, then Boots of Travel, then Hood of Defiance and a Rod of Athos. Quite an unusual item build for Timbersaw. Using Rod of Athos helps slow down an opponent, and Chakram on top of that. If the enemy hero doesn't have a Force Staff or a BKB, he's very likely to go down. As for the Hood of Defiance, the enemy team had a lot of magical damage, and it's better to absorb it than use a BKB, because closer to the end of the game, the BKB only lasts 4 seconds and it doesn't guarantee you safety anymore, while the Hood of Defiance will always work and resist magical damage. This will be enough to survive through the fight and have time to deal damage. As soon as Funn1k gets his items and levels, he immediately joins his team and starts to fight. He succeeds in doing so, and the game is quite spectacular. If you haven't seen this match, make sure you do so. Once again, this is the game of Navi versus Team Liquid at We Play Dota 2 League. This is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this hero guide. Play Dota, subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next videos.